Hi Gloucester Academy, nice to see you again. Just been asked by Jim to try and put some ideas together, some psychological ideas about the feelings of playing, how I felt as a youngster growing up playing football, but also thinking about what that might be in my later years, my adult life, and also my later junior years as well. Firstly, my feelings of playing, that excitement and adrenaline buzz you get from playing, and I know we're all probably missing that at the moment. That little bit of positivity but nervousness that you get prior to a game and the build up for a game. I used to be quite nervous before a game, possibly the evening before. The day of the game didn't used to be too bad. I used to be able to cope with that quite well. But it was probably in that little run up prior to kick off, you start to get that little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nervousness, thinking about your own performance, how the game's going to go, how things are going to work out, and hopefully how well you're going to play. And a little trick that I used to have with regards to controlling my nerves, just about staying focused and thinking about that. And I used to actually try and build that into a bit of my training as I could. And that probably leads me back to when I was a youngster at a very early age, thinking about what it would be like scoring that goal or making that save or making that run in the final few minutes. And that used to actually drive me on with my training sessions, definitely. In my young adult life, thinking about how I needed to stay fit and healthy in order to be there and on the pitch in those last few minutes of a game. I'll give you an example of how nerves kicked in for me. Certainly in my first game for England schoolboys, I was playing at Leicester City in front of about 6,000 people, and they were all packed in on the one side, and I actually came in, I came on as left midfield, and it was with the crowd behind me, if you like, on my left-hand side, and 6,000 people there, coming on a sub with about 20 minutes to go, against Holland was a big deal for me, obviously. And I was just really, really confident in trying to think, yeah, my own ability, I'm going to be okay. I've got 20 minutes here to do exactly what I can. Try and work really hard. And the very first touch that I received, or the very first time I received the ball, I put my foot up to control the ball and it went right under my foot. 20 minutes to go, debut in front of these people, all behind me, lots of whom come from my home to cheer me on and be really proud of me making my England debut, and I miscontrolled the football. And it was one of the most possibly worst starts to a game that I could have possibly had. But realistically, what I then thought was, I've got to try and make a positive, I've got to make the next thing a really positive thing. And I did, and I managed to do that. I managed to score in that game and play quite well for the remaining 19 minutes of that. But as a first impression, if you'd have just seen that in isolation, you'd have thought, oh, what's he done? The nerves have got the better of him. And I don't think it was that so much. I think it was just trying to try too hard. And I think that can sometimes be an issue as well. But with a positive mindset and with ability to bounce back, it meant that I could do that, and obviously carried on with the game and won the game in the end. I was asked to say what was the comparison with regards to how it felt when I was younger. Obviously, when I was growing up, football was massive to me. I was playing it all the time, every little opportunity I could get to play. I was out with my mates or out with my brothers, trying to play, trying to recreate scenes that I'd seen on television or on Match of the Day, trying to score that winner and be that player. And I think, as I said, as I went through my career, that sort of stood me in good stead in the fact that when I was training, I used to think about those things, sort of a bit of positive imagery, if you like, thinking about how it's going to be when you score that goal and that feeling of elation when the goal goes in, or like I say, if you're a goalkeeper, you make that save or you make that defensive tackle that saves your team a certain goal. And that's just about being positive in your outlook. I was also asked by Jim to talk about potentially some of the goals, some of the goals that I had as a younger player. And looking to play at bigger stadiums. I was really fortunate in my early days as a professional to play at some fantastic grounds. I managed to play at Goodison Park at Everton. I managed to play at Man City in the old Main Road Stadium, Middlesbrough, Fulham, quite a few others, only in reserve team games, so there were no fans there, so I didn't really have that buzz of excitement that you get when there's a packed stand behind you. And I suppose that's no different to the top pros at the level at the moment with the COVID going on. There's not many people, if any, in the stands and in the stadium to make that extra bit of passion and that roar that you get. And hopefully it won't be too long before we get that back at Meadow Park for the first team and also the youth teams with regards to fans being let back in to watch games. But my biggest probably achievement as grounds I've played at is probably Wembley. I was fortunate enough to play for Forest Green and we got through to the FA Trophy final. And the actual day itself was a massive occasion, obviously, for everybody concerned. To play at Wembley at all as a player is a massive achievement in any way, shape or form. And I was fortunate to be part of a team that got to that final. And actually, the manager did something really good for us prior to that, whereas we walked around the day before, we took in all the sites, looked at everything, looked at where all our family were going to be sat, and that took the pressure off the game slightly. On the day itself, I think the game and the size of the occasion really got the better of us. And I remember a manager said to me, who wasn't my manager at the time, but he actually said about the game, he said, just make sure, Alex, you take in the game and you take in everything around it beforehand, and then let your football do the talking when you play, because you don't get the opportunity back. And that's a really good thing to take on board, is actually just don't play the surroundings, but actually play the game itself. And you have to try and think of a way of putting all of those things at the back of your mind and just getting on with the job in hand, which is actually playing football and working really hard for your team. And I think if you do that, whatever situation you're in, that's going to stand you in really good stead. So good luck to you. Hopefully I'll see you soon, and maybe we'll get a chance to do one more of these soon. Take care.